There's something I call the pleasure thieves. Stress, trauma, and shame are the three things that are getting in the way of us having the sex lives that we want and the pleasure that we want. If we're living in a state of anxiety and stress, which a lot of us do, and we had this spike in cortisol, it's a lot harder to be in a state of arousal. You could be the sexiest person on the planet, you could know all the moves, you could have all the toys, you could do all the things, but if you grew up in an environment that told you that sex was wrong, or you just don't feel great in your body, or you're not feeling confident about your experience level or the way your body looks, it doesn't matter how much right things you do, it's going to be hard to live in a
Agreed.
pleasurable.
Okay, guys, Dr. Emily Morse, aka Sex with Emily, here at A4M.
Hi.
Fellow podcast host of 20
yes,
years.
20 years.
That's insane.
It really is.
Hats off to you for making it that long.
Thank you.
Because I know a lot of podcasters that make it like a month or two.
I know. It's been a journey for sure, but it's something that, I think you can't get enough sex education. In fact, most of what we've learned about sex is simply untrue. And so there's always people who are constantly learning, relearning about sex. So
And you were so early. Now I feel like it's more talked about. It's still a little weird in certain circles, but now it's way more accepted, right?
Definitely less taboo. So people always ask me in 20 years, what's changed so much? And so I love that there's podcasts and there's more people talking about it. But what hasn't changed is that people still have a lot of misinformation about sex. And so they are, they're just having all these expectations around sex, and they're still having sex that's really disappointing and not enjoyable, and making assumptions based on things like, and lack of sex education. So I will always have a job.
Would you say a majority of people are having disappointing sex these days?
Yes.
So more than 50%?
I would say the more than 50% of people, if they're not in the honeymoon stage, the early stage of a relationship, which we all can have great sex at that point. That's when we're supposed to have great sex. But after 6 months to 2 years, people tend to get into this point where they're like, well, how come we're not having the kind of sex we had at the beginning when we were so excited and everything was amazing? And then that's when you really have to start doing the work.
Yeah. What do you think causes that fall off with amazing sex at first and then it gets worse?
Yeah, it's actually a biological condition. It actually serves a purpose. So when we meet somebody, we are sipping on the most delicious cocktail of feel-good hormones, right? Dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and everything's exciting and new. I've never seen this person naked. I've never touched them before, and everything's exciting, right? And it's the bonding hormones too. So what happens is we're in this stage where, like any kind of great drug, though, what comes up must come down. So that can only last so long.
Puppy love.
So that's all that. So that's what happens, and then it falls, and then we look at our partner. We're like, we used to want to have sex every single day, and now we don't. Now we're really getting to know each other, right? So we move through these different phases. So then, I usually find people at this point where they're like, now what? What do we do? How do we keep the desire alive? How do we continue to have incredible sex that isn't driven by these, hormones?
And have you seen success when it comes to sexless marriages?
Absolutely.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is what I do. If people, that is my audience is everybody, but absolutely, couples can reconnect from a sexless relationship or a sexless marriage. We just can't rely on the same things that got us together. So we have to learn new skills.
Okay, so you got to spice it up.
We have to spice it up. We have to learn to communicate about sex. I always say communication is a lubrication. The more we talk about sex, the better sex we're going to have. But I can tell you this, Sean, that most couples have not had conversations about sex that actually move the needle in their pleasure. So how the conversations often go is something like this. How come we don't have sex? When are we going to have more sex?
Right.
Will you do this thing that maybe I don't? But it's not really about, well, what really feels good to you? What's your turn-ons? What could we do to be great lovers to each other? So most of what I do is teach people how to get over the shame, get over the taboo, and really communicate with their deepest yearnings and desires and in a healthy way.
Yeah, I guess people should talk about sex more.
Yeah. Yeah, they really should.
Because they're having it.
You should talk. I'm glad you're having me on.
Yeah, might as well talk about it if you're having it. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Because I think relying on, a lot of us just think our partner's a mind reader. They're going to figure it out. They should know. They should know me. They should be able to understand me. But again, oftentimes we don't even know ourselves. So how could we expect our partners to know too?
I've also seen you talk about sex discrepancy, which I feel like is relatable to everyone, right?
Yeah, that's a big one. So sex discrepancy or desire discrepancy, mismatched desire. I would say that's probably one of the top questions I get asked. is about what do we do in our relationship. There's always, in every relationship, there's a high desire partner and a low desire partner.
Yep.
In every relationship, right? And so the low desire partner actually controls the sexual relationship because they're the one deciding if sex is going to happen or is it not going to happen. And so this is something that you can work through. I hope that just normalizes it for you, for everyone, knowing that you're like, okay. But then this is where it comes down to, well, when do we both want sex? What time of day? What kind of sex do we want? And I find that, yeah, a lot of times we don't actually even know that. And so I developed this paradigm called sexual intelligence or sex IQ. And there's 5 pillars to it. We don't have to get into all of them now, well, we could, but the point is it's not just one thing. But the most important thing to understand about it is there's 2 kinds of desire, right? There's spontaneous desire and there is responsive. So spontaneous desire is what we have at the beginning. I see you, I'm turned on, I want to have sex, let's go. But lots of us are responsive desire. We're going to respond to certain things happening, certain kind of touch, a moment, certain touch, certain words, time of day, or, certain things have to happen, have to line up for me to want to have sex. So if you're in a relationship where you're having this mismatched desire, we have to figure out what's going to get us to want to have sex.
Right.
And so that's the work I do with people.
Would you say it's a majority of the time the man wants to have sex more?
I would say that's one of the biggest myths that I had to uncover when the first thing I learned. I assumed, so remember I started out saying that most of what we learned about sex is not true.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest myths is that men want sex more often than women.
Really?
Really. Yeah. So no, men and women are the same. I meet just as many women who are with men who don't want to have sex as often.
You're blowing my mind right
I
now.
know. Yeah. Just wait. We're just getting started.
Holy crap. Because I always assume men want it more. Because this is my take on it. I think men view sex more physically than women. What do you think about that?
Say more.
I think men view sex as like a physical pleasure, physical experience, where women, it's more like a spiritual thing. I don't know if that even makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, for some women it is more spiritual, but I think for men too, it can be spiritual. I think the challenge is that I think it's easier for men. Their penis is external, right? It's easier to know. It's easier to have an orgasm. It's easier to be aroused and turned on. So I think for men, it's just it's actually easier the way it works. And so I think for men, they know they're going to have an orgasm. They know they're going to get turned on. They know they're going to have desire. So that part of it might be a little bit, it's easier for men, but it doesn't mean that women don't often, I meet so many women too who want sex just as often, but it's just we're a little bit more complicated how women's bodies work, and a lot of women shame themselves or feel bad because they think they should have an orgasm during penetration, for example. So let's just back up for a second. When I say sex to you, what do you think?
I
when
think
I say
penetration.
Sex? Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's how we define sex. And there's a lot of reasons we define sex that way. And it goes back to even religion. So defining sex by procreation. So you can have sex to make a baby. So how do you make a baby? Penis goes in vagina. We get the sperm and then we have a baby. But for the majority of women, only 20% are going to have an orgasm from anything to do with a penis, including penetration.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's nothing.
Nothing. And if those women, it's not even every single time. So for many women, we require different kinds of external touch, and we might, foreplay isn't just like a light suggestion. It's actually a requirement for a lot of women. So there's a lot of other ways we're going to have the most pleasure, and it's just, not anything to do with your penis.
20%, damn.
20%. Right. So what does that tell you, right? We have to work on our fingers, mouth, toys, like other ways. And our brain is the largest sex organ. So what can we do to get the brain on board for sex?
You said the brain is a sex organ?
Yeah. The largest, the skin is a large sex organ too.
Skin.
Yeah, but the brain, getting our brains on board for it. Yeah. I mean, well, actually, a lot of stuff is happening in our brain. So we could get into that, but it's if I am in a shutdown mode, so there's something I call the pleasure thieves. Stress, trauma, and shame are the 3 things that are getting in the way of us having the sex lives that we want and the pleasure that we want. So if we're living in a state of anxiety and stress, which a lot of us do, and we had this spike in cortisol, it's a lot harder to be in a state of arousal. And as men, again, we said, we're like, no, I can get an erection and be really stressed. You know, that is true.
Can't focus, struggling to sleep, or feeling wired? This balances your brain and body fast. A cutting-edge EEG study found something phenomenal with Quantum Upgrade. Stress-related brainwave activity dropped by 80%, calming alpha waves in the limbic system increased over 13x, and HRV improved big time. That's just the start. Quantum Upgrade is a 24/7 quantum energy streaming service that boosts your energy, focus, recovery, and sleep with no device needed. I personally use this myself, and it's also recommended by top athletes, leading biohackers, and functional medicine practitioners. It can neutralize the harmful effects of EMFs, increase ATP production by up to 29%, and improve cell recovery, blood health, and circulation within minutes. Yes, double-blind studies confirm it. And with Quantum Upgrade, you don't have to fight against technology, you could thrive with it. Get your 15-day free trial, no credit card required. Use the code DSH, go to quantumupgrade.io and experience the upgrade for yourself, quantumupgrade.io.
But for all of us, I don't even like to speak with the gender differences anymore because I found that we're really more similar than we're not. But I have found that, again, when we're really stressed and worried about things, it can be harder to live in arousal. And then, you know, stress, trauma, if we have trauma, if we've had a traumatic experience, big T trauma, little T trauma, that lives in our body, whether it's, you know, the way we process, if we're like in a state of fight or flight or freeze, again, that can also make pleasure less accessible and just shame. Like, listen, you could be the sexiest person on the planet. You could know all the moves. You could have all the toys. You could do all the things. But if you grew up in an environment that told you that sex was wrong, or you just don't feel great in your body, or you're not feeling confident about your experience level or the way your body looks, it doesn't matter how much right things you do, it's going to be hard to live in a pleasurable.
Agreed. Yeah, I think there's shame with both genders.
Absolutely.
I think with guys, it's size, it's performance anxiety, it's mental.
It's true.
Lasting long,
right? All of these things are shame. They're really shame based. And when I really dig deep with people I work with, and on my podcast, Sex with Emily, a lot of what we do is answer these questions from people. And like I said, half my audience is men. I think I said to you before. It's like there is so much shame that. And again, you just said it. Men are told they have to last longer. They have to be a certain size. I'm telling you, I've talked to millions of people over the years, and my podcast has been downloaded 1 billion times. And I can tell you, I've 20 years of this. It is not about lasting longer. It's not about the size at all. Like, those are not the factors in which we should measure success.
Amen. So many guys are going to comment on that. Oh my God.
You're doing great, guys.
So you don't get turned off if a guy only lasts like 30 seconds?
So, okay, here's what I want to say about that. If a guy only lasts 30 seconds, and I think a lot of women are like, we get it, like, it's happened. But if it's ongoing and it's every single time it's 30 seconds, well, then we should talk about that. What is that about? Like, there's so much you can do if you finish the party before you want to.
You could actually train yourself to last longer, right?
Absolutely.
Stop and go method.
Stop and go method, stop and start method, where you masturbate until the point where you're about to have an orgasm, then you bring yourself back down. You could absolutely train your body. That's just one state. Maybe the first time you had sex, you came too quickly. Now it keeps happening. There's a lot of different reasons why it happens, but there's so much you can do. I mean, we're at this longevity conference. There's shockwave therapy. There's Promescent. There's like delay sprays. There's one that I love called Promescent. I've worked with them for over 10 years. Yeah. Oh my God. I will send you such a care package, Sean Kelly. Yeah. It's a delay spray. And it's called Promescent. It's called Promescent, and you spray it on about 10 to 15 minutes before you have sex. And men can last up to 60% longer in bed. Wow. And it's a slightly it uses lidocaine. It's a slightly numbing, but of course it's not too much that you're going to lose sensation. It's a crazy successful for a lot of men.
So we'll add another 18 seconds to me.
Exactly.
Let's go.
Exactly.
Let's go.
Right. Whatever we can do to help you.
Everything counts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's always the biggest shame with guys lasting long.
Yeah.
Because they watch these videos.
This is the problem.
The guys are lasting like an hour.
Yeah, because can we talk about that?
Yeah.
Okay, guys. This is first off, if you last as long as and you do everything you see and you're with a woman, she's going to be in pain. She's going to have micro tears. She could get an STI from those micro tears, and she's not going to want to have sex with you for days, weeks, months. And so I want to remind everybody that learning to watch
talk a lot on this show about taking risks and trying to get ahead, but let's be real, the world feels shaky right now. AI is changing jobs, markets are all over the place, nothing feels guaranteed, and at some point you realize no one's coming to save you. You've got to protect yourself, and one thing people forget about is life insurance. If you're new to it, you're not alone. That's why I checked out Select Quote. They've been around for over 40 years and helped more than 2 million Americans find coverage that actually fits their life and budget. They compare policies from top-rated insurance companies and do the work for you for free. You can even get same-day coverage up to $2 million with no medical exam. Life insurance is never cheaper than it is today. Get the right life insurance for you for less and save more than 50% at selectquote.com/DSH. Save more than 50% on term life insurance at selectquote.com/DSH today to get started. That's selectquote.com/DSH.
Learning to have sex by watching is like learning to drive by watching Fast and the Furious. You are not going to be a great lover because of watching. There's no lube. There's no, protection. There's no slowing down. There's no warming the woman up. There's no foreplay. Like it's just, and it's all based on lasting longer because they're trying to get you to watch and, whatever. But that's just, again, such a disservice to so many people. Not that bad. It has a place, but learning about sex through is a disaster.
What do you think the best way to learn then is if you want to have sex?
So the best way to learn about how to is listen to my podcast, Sex with Emily. I literally been doing it for 20 years. I've helped generations of people have better sex. And let me just tell you why that works. Or listen to read books. Go. I'll give you all the resources, but let me tell you why my podcast works for people. And I've got thousands of episodes. And when I first started, what I didn't understand is I would hear from people all the time, couples, men, women, and they'd say, oh my God, my girlfriend and I were driving for 12 hours on a road trip, from San Francisco to Oregon, and we listened to your podcast the whole time. And I'd be like, wow, that's a long fucking time to listen to my...
A lot of sex talk.
It's a lot, but what I realize is it's not so much that we couldn't get all this information, but they did. It's because the way I talk about sex is I normalize it. I take away the taboo, I answer questions, and it's just like I talk about sex like I'm talking about the weather. And they realize that they can too, because the biggest challenge people have is they literally don't know how to bring up the topic of sex outside the bedroom to their partner. They go into, they have fear. I can't tell you how many are like, just tell me the words to say, and is it okay to do that? Because we've, think of any other topic where we're like, have so much fear comes up around it. Can you think of one?
Sex is up there. Sex and money, I'd say.
Sex and money.
Yeah,
that's
those
it.
are the big two. I feel like.
In relationships, it's really the biggest killers of our relationships because we can't talk about these two things that once you do it, you realize, oh, this is the most normal thing in the world. It gets easier over time. But listen, if you try to talk about your sex life, and I can tell you how to do it. I have skills how to do it outside the bedroom and what to do. The 3 T's for any sexual conversation. Timing, tone, and turf. Time. You want to pick a time where you are not halt, hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. So you're in a good place. You guys all know when that is. The tone is curious and compassionate and chill. You want to say, hey, I am, let's talk about, hey, I realized that we've never actually talked about our sex life. And I blamed Sex with Emily. She told me that couples who talk about sex have better sex. So let's talk about it. And it's an ongoing conversation. You're like, let's talk about our turn-ons. And the turf is outside the bedroom. We do not want to have these conversations in the bedroom. Leave that for sleeping and for sex. But do it again when you're on a walk, you're on a road trip, and you just say, hey, let's talk about what would make our sex incredible. What's your biggest turn on? What are the 3 most memorable times we've had sex together? What was happening in those moments? And just start. And again, my website, sexwithemily.com, my Instagram, everything I do is helping people have these conversations.
Wow, you've inspired me. Next walk I go on.
I got you.
Got a conversation starter right there.
I'm excited for you.
Turn-ons and where's the best sex we've had?
Yeah.
Got me thinking.
Yeah, right. What is it?
I think it was in the cabin.
Okay.
Yeah.
The cabin.
She probably doesn't even want me talking about this, but
That's
the cabin, in the
okay.
woods.
Yeah, in the woods. And so I'm going to say, even if it wasn't you, but here's what we do. Like, there's some incredible information just in the woods, right? Let's just say you said it's cabin in the woods. I would say, okay, wow. So it was when we were out of the house.
Yeah.
We were on vacation. There was no one around. Maybe our cell phones didn't work. maybe it was a little scary. It was dark. It was romantic. It was ominous. We were, away from this normal fate. And we were like, it was, so all these things, so now I know that we want to get away. We want to put our phones down. We want to have maybe a whole day of hiking, and we were feeling really active and connected.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of
wow. I can see why you're good at this.
Yeah. So I help people look at, because if we go back to mismatched desire, when I said to you, like, become an expert in your own desire. So for me, I can tell you, I'm not going to have great sex right after work. If I've been working all day and I'm managing a business and I'm doing even if I'm talking about sex on a podcast all day, that is not where I'm going to be like, okay, let's have sex right now. I need to have a break between work and date night or whatever it is. I need to take a shower. I like to have a sauna, work out, make sure that I'm just like, I'm feeling, I do breath work.
Yeah.
I do something that helps me reset. And then I'll listen to music. As a woman, it might be different than a man, but I like to move my body. I like to wear things that make me feel sexy and turned on. And
Still taking your pre-workout after you get to the gym? You're already late. What if your pre-workout actually worked with your body? Are you tired of artificial energy drinks? Meet NO Beats, a beet-based nitric oxide booster that supports your body's natural nitric oxide production for increased blood flow, mitochondrial ATP energy, and endurance naturally. N101 nitric oxide lozenges is a smarter way to fuel your workout. Just dissolve it in your mouth and it starts working before your first rep. No mixing, no jitters, no crash. More nitric oxide means better blood flow, stronger pumps, and sustained energy without caffeine overload. Plus, it supports your cardiovascular and cognitive health too. You can support your body's nitric oxide production daily and feel the difference with N101. Just mix one packet with a little water and take it as a shot 10 to 20 minutes before training. Pop a lozenge 10 to 15 minutes pre-workout and feel the difference. Train smarter with N101 at N101.com.
make sure that I have time with my partner to connect, because I know that early on, yes, we were ripping each other's clothes off. It was passionate, but we're not in that state anymore. So I have to the house has to be clean.
Yeah, you need.
I don't want dirty
build-up.
sheets.
Yeah.
I need to build up.
No morning sex for you.
No more, unless it's the weekend.
Okay.
I got to work out in the morning. I'm not going to miss my workout to have sex. Not because I don't.
So workout over sex for you.
Yep. In the morning. Well,
Priorities.
here's the other. Let's talk about this. Why are we expected to have sex only in the morning or at night?
That's a good point.
First off, at night. Also, on a Monday night at midnight, if I'm already in bed or 11 o'clock, it's not going to happen. Like, I would tell my partner, like, don't even try if I'm in bed and the lights are off. Like, that's why we fake sleep.
That's fun.
I don't want to have to fake sleep and lie in my relationship, but it's Monday night. I had a long day. But maybe like in the afternoon, in fact, there was a study, and we haven't done enough studies about women's sexual desire, but we're starting to do more, that women's prime time for sex is like 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
No way.
Yeah, and a lot of us are working from home now. That's totally doable.
Wow.
Or the weekends, or
Test that out.
test
I've
it out,
never.
Sean.
I don't think I've ever had afternoon sex.
Okay. Really?
Yeah, I need to test that out.
Test it out. We're chill. We've already yeah.
That's funny.
So I don't know about your partner, but sometimes morning sex, but I know morning sex for guys because you wake up and you're already sometimes ready to go.
I could see I need a shower first.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I like night more, but I could see why people do it in the morning.
Yeah.
Because you're waking up
Because you're like
hard.
already naked together in
Yeah,
bed.
you're waking up naked and you're hard. So
Right,
if
exactly.
You're, a healthy
You're
guy.
like naked and hard and ready to go. And I know, again, this is why it's so hard to prescribe this to anybody, because there'll be so many people going, oh, my girlfriend loves morning sex. Amazing. But to assume that she also might not or he might not. So you can't, there is no uniform like recipe that I can give everyone for sex that like, do it in the morning, do it at this time, do it in this position. Although I can definitely help people, everyone has to decide and look at and decode what works for them.
Yeah.
And then they figure that out with their partner. If they
What
have
do you
a
think
partner.
about this viral sex challenge right now going on TikTok? Sex every day for 30 days.
This has been around for a long time, but TikTok is making it a thing, which I love. The thing I love about sex every day for 30 days is that it's intentional. It becomes like a muscle. So now we're having sex all the time. So we're having sex every day. So now we get to get creative about our sex life.
Yeah.
We can think about where we want to have sex, how we want to have sex. Hopefully, I don't know that people are doing this. They're just trying to check it off the list. But for me, the best way to have sex every day for 30 days is to. So I've got this thing on a free guide on my website. It's called the Yes, No, Maybe list, and it's probably been downloaded a million times. I've had it and it is a guide, and this is everyone doing the sex challenge. So check this out. It has about 100 sex acts on it. And you look at it, so it'll have everything like kissing, anal sex, sex toys. You can imagine 100 things.
Yeah.
And it has columns. Is this a yes? Is it a no? Is it a maybe? And then you and your partner each take it separately and you come together.
Oh, I love that.
And you're like, I didn't know you wanted to talk dirty. I want to talk dirty. You know, so you learn about each other. So in these 30 days of having sex, you can choose things on this list to make it more worthwhile and more intentional. But what I like about it, like I like exercising every day for 30 days. I once did yoga every day for 30 days. So if a couples are prioritizing their intimate relationship, I think it's a good thing. But if it's forced and of course not consensual and one person's like, no, then don't do it. But if you're both doing it because you want to reinvigorate your sex life, I'm down.
I mean, my logical brain's thinking the week of the period though. Like, how do you get around that?
Well, we could define sex differently.
Okay.
We could define sex by other things, using a toy, mutual masturbation. Women can have sex on their period. In fact, here's another thing. Some women love sex on their period.
What?
Yeah, not the first day or the second day usually. Usually it's like a heavy flow. But by the third day or fourth day, for some women, it's like not as heavy bleeding and they might feel their arousal come back. So they have to be with a partner that's okay with what that means. But, you know, again, if we redefine sex, there's something called mutual masturbation, which is what it sounds like. But why I love it is because, first off, you're both lying side by side. You know you're going to have an orgasm, so it's the sure thing. Number two, you're learning what your partner likes. So if your partner is touching herself in a certain way, you're like, oh, she's using her finger in this way, or she's touching herself with this particular touch, or then I can learn that that's how I should touch her. And it's hot. So there's like 3 reasons to do it. You're both going to get off. You're learning from your partner, and it's sexy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotta try that one out too. Do you consider masturbation to a form of cheating?
Do I consider masturbation to no?
Like when someone's watching porn and
again, many people think that their partner watching porn is a problem, is cheating.
Yeah.
They define that as a discretion in the relationship. And I'm going to bring it back to the individual couples. You guys get to decide what is cheating and what isn't. But I find that for a lot of people, I want to say young, but okay, I can tell you when I was in my 20s, I was dating this guy and I saw his history.
How'd you see that?
I found it. Well, at the time, it was more like different. Like he had, at the time it was more like he had the tapes, like the porn DVDs or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. So, or maybe he talked to me. I'm trying to remember what it was. It was a long time ago.
It was a while ago.
Okay. But I was so, so at the time, I'm in my I think I was 24. And I was so hurt and upset because here I was thinking I was having the best sex of my life. It wasn't. I didn't know. But it was, I felt so connected to him. It was my first long-term relationship. And I felt like it was, first off, the women in the looked nothing like me. The women had blonde hair. They were tall. They had large breasts. I'm a small, petite brunette. And it felt like such, so I know how people feel. But what I didn't understand and so I was upset and whatever. And he tried to explain to me. But what I didn't understand at the time is that people are going to watch porn in a relationship, out of a relationship, during a relationship. That it is a separate personal activity. I mean, couples can watch together, but it's a stress reliever. It's a way of connecting with ourselves. And it's really not like, I don't think that it's cheating, but this is why it's so important to discuss this in a relationship. It's not going to replace you. Now I can also understand though, if let's say you're in a relationship where your partner you haven't had sex in months, weeks, your partner is avoiding you, but then you're like, oh, but they're watching all the time. I could see why that would feel like I don't understand why you're watching, not having sex with me. But I think that for a lot of people, and I guess I was going to say women watch too, but like you've been doing it since you were like, how old?
Middle school, I think.
Middle school.
Yeah.
And so now you're supposed to not watch. Now, there are also challenges for a lot of guys, there is problems where they like can't get turned on unless they're watching all the things. So do you think is cheating?
I don't, but I don't like if my partner were to watch it.
You don't?
No.
Okay.
Because I don't really watch it, so.
Okay. Because what would that make you feel?
I don't know. Like she could do it. I just wouldn't like it. I guess
You wouldn't like
know
it
what I
because
mean?
it would feel like it was, you'd rather have her sexual energy.
I guess, yeah.
And you don't want ever?
Not rarely, like
Okay.
super rarely.
Was it like a conscious decision?
Yeah, I used to watch it a lot growing up.
How did you stop watching? I think that's really great to talk about because I think,
I think I really just value like sexual energy now.
yeah.
So I don't
See,
instead
you're
of like
spiritual.
yeah,
You said,
I'm very spiritual.
okay.
I just didn't know how to explain that, but
Right. No,
yeah.
but that's, so how do you see your sex life has changed since you stopped watching?
Just way more selective, you know,
Yeah.
with who I have sex with.
Right. Okay.
Well, obviously now I'm married, so I only
Okay.
have sex
Okay.
with
So
her, but
that's good.
yeah.
But no, I love, and then so was it an adjustment to be able to not watch and be with humans?
I think yeah, but also when I used to be a big stoner too, so
Okay.
that caused me to do it too.
Yeah.
And I think cutting that out at around the same time helped.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. That goes hand in hand. I think this is a great, I mean, here's the thing. I'm not like anything you do, it can become a problem. Like if people find that they're watching, people are like, how do I know if I have a problem? Well, can you actually get turned on with a human? Are you not able to show up at work because you're watching so much? You know, you have to look if there's consequences. But yeah, I think that like healthy use might be to, masturbate on your own or to get ideas for your arousal. But ultimately, I think the goal is to have that spiritual connection with a partner, have
Agreed.
that sex is energy. Everything is energy, but sexual energy is why like so much of what we do is like creation energy, sexual energy. And when we reduce sex just to an act or genitals rubbing against each other or even just orgasm, I think, which is what most people do, that's when I think sex really becomes a problem because it's really hard to keep, if you can go back to like connecting to your partner, looking into each other's eyes, breathing together, talking about sex, you'd find that you have a lot less problems if you're just like, how many times a week, how many orgasms, how many positions. All those things matter. They're tools, but they're not the actual active connection. And
Love that. I feel like the healthiest people I know have a lot of sex, honestly.
yeah.
I feel like there's a link there with sexual life and health.
Absolutely. Well, if you're talking about just healthy in general, like we're at a longevity conference, it's like so much of I always say like, sex is wellness. Like sexual health is wellness. For many years, sex was like the stepchild of the wellness industry. If it was even invited in the door, it was like, oh no, you're just titillating sex with Emily. I used to go to things all the time like, oh, will you come on stage and talk about like positions? I mean, again, I've been doing this for 20 years, but now it's like, no, it's about blood flow, the foods we're eating.
Yeah.
Are we moving our body? Are we on certain foods or supplements that are going to affect our sex drive? Like there's so many layers to it.
Yeah.
And if we're not feeling sexually well, it's going to impact our overall health.
For sure.
And vice versa.
This was really fun. Really fun.
Oh my God, I love it.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Sean.
Yeah, where can people watch your show and keep up with you? and everything?
Everywhere. It's Sex with Emily on all platforms. The podcast is Sex with Emily. You can download, listen, follow on every single social media platform. If you want to get any of the guides, just go to sexwithemily.com or DM me.
I got some walks to go on and some conversations to
got you,
have. So
baby.
thank you.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Check her out, guys. Peace.
I hope you guys are enjoying the show. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps the show a lot with the algorithm. Thank you.